cool.
Great. Hi, Karina. It's great to see you again.
Hi, nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
It's great that we have coincided on places in the world and at the same time online so many times.
Exactly. I know, it's great. It's kind of freaky, actually, because I'm in Sydney and you're in Dubai, and here we are.
So I wanted you to share with some of the subscribers with my on my email a little bit about yourself. Tell them about Karena Thomas.
hmm Well, I live in Sydney in Australia. I started, I guess I joined the SFM about in March last year, so 2017. At the time, the previous year, I'd quit my job. I had been working at a university for 5 years, and I was just really burnt out and really unfulfilled in my job. I quit and went traveling for 9 months, and then actually I was volunteering on a permaculture farm. So I wasn't even making money. I was volunteering in this job and living in this beautiful place on this farm when I found the SFM, because I knew that very soon I was going to run out of money and I was going to have to get a job. And the thought of that made me want to vomit, because I just felt so lost at the time. I just didn't want to spend my days in a 9 to 5 job going nowhere. Like I knew I could feel this potential in me to do something, and I just did not know where to do what. I didn't know what I didn't know. Right.
Right.
And I just knew I was meant to. It was deeply frustrating, and I knew that I was never going to get it in some office job. And so the clock was ticking, and I stumbled across this ad, and for the SFM I signed up. I'd in the past actually signed up for online stuff before. So back in 2008, 2009, I'd signed up for online programs and got scammed in the past. So that really yeah, so I
Scared
sort
you.
of, yeah, and it didn't it scammed me. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was a lot for me at the time. And I guess it just made me put anything to do with online business in a box with scams on the front of it, like labeled scams. You know what I mean? So I was just closed to that after that experience. But then around 2006, 2015, 2016. Started looking again, just kind of sussing out what was out, not really like half looking what was out there in the online space, because I was seeing people doing stuff. And I thought, well, what is this? What are they, what, like they're swinging in hammocks and stuff, but how do they actually do what they do? And I always had that curiosity of how does that work? And yeah, it just got to a point where I just I thought, well, I'll just sign up for a 7-day video series. I can't hurt to at least learn what people are doing and how it works, So that's how I got started. But I've always had this feeling that I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to do my own
Oh.
thing. I didn't know what that was. Yeah. So that's how I got started.
So after you saw the 7-day video series where you met Stuart and Jay, which later on we met them in person and how wonderful they are.
Mm-hmm.
The next step was to sign an application in order to talk to a systems consultant and talk a little bit about what your goals are.
Mm.
So was that scary for you?
I
How
was
did you
really
feel about
nervous
doing
about that. I remember I was really nervous because I watched the 7-day video series, and I was really interested, and then I was worried that they would like reject me. I
that?
thought I was like going to sign up for this thing and I have this conversation with this guy in the UK, and what if he says no? But I was quite nervous actually, but I did it. I just just I've always known that you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone sometimes if you want to make some changes. So I made the call, and he was lovely, and I signed up as an applicant pretty quick after the 7-day video series, just because I was like, well, it's refundable 30 days. I can poke around, I can see what the deal is, and I can get my money back. It's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, and I was really just more out of curiosity and just wanting to know more if this was real. And I figured, well, it's $30, you know, it's like a no-brainer. So I went in there, and that's yeah, that's when I was really struck by, actually, what really struck me was the fact that Luke and Brooke, who it was their ad I clicked on. What really struck me was that they called me, because I was very actually, I was going through the information and everything, but I still was doubtful. I still had that fear because of previous experience that I was just some automated person in this bucket now that clicks through this stuff, and no one actually gives a shit that I'm actually there. I just and then I got this phone call from my Luke and Brooke, and that's when it dawned on me that this was real and that someone cared. Yeah. And that there was someone on the other side, and they wanted to connect with me. And that's when I was when I felt like I was part of something and not just in some type of weird system that I didn't really understand, or fully trust, you know. And so from then on, I just I dove in because I just could see the potential of it. After that, it was just the final piece. That connection was that final piece of the puzzle of, okay, this is real. Yeah. So, and I think that's why I got so heavily into the community. So within the SFM, we have a very active community of engaged members. Some of them are affiliates, others are just have their own businesses and apply the knowledge to their businesses, the digital marketing training. Others are doing Amazon stuff. Some people are consulting. So it's a very mixed group of people all around the world, and all wanting to learn, all wanting to grow, all wanting to contribute. It's an amazing place to be. And I knew very quickly that I was going to have to plug in to the community, because I'd signed up for things in the past, like other courses, not scammy stuff, legitimate courses, where I'd undertaken courses and then did very little with the information, because I didn't realize at the time, but I didn't realize I didn't have the support to get it off the ground, because so often we think our problem is lack of information, and actually that's not the problem. Is actually implementing the information, because we can get information anywhere. We can anywhere for free, but the problem isn't access to information. The problem is implementation. And I didn't know that. And that's why in the past I'd invested in courses that I did very little with, because I didn't have the support around me to implement it. I didn't have the structures in place. And that's when I joined the SFM. I realized that was the missing piece for me, was the mentorship in the community, because I was learning this stuff and then I was able to apply it and get feedback. But also I could see people who were one step in front of me doing it and feeding back to me what they experienced. So it's just... it's very, very valuable resource. And I think it's just, it's the community's been like really, really awesome in my learning from people who are doing it, you know, and are only a few steps ahead. That's the other thing. It's like easy to look at people who are making, you know, $50,000 a month and feel intimidated, and rightly so. They're 10,000 steps ahead and they have wonderful things to contribute, but you don't always relate to them. But then when you are working with someone who's only maybe 5 or 10 steps ahead, that feels achievable, and make incredible connections that way. And it makes the day-to-day things that you do feel important, because you can see where you're headed. And you can see how it's worked for other people. So, yeah.
I remember when I first joined the community in order to build an online business, I kind of thought I was just going to be receiving a course. And I was scared because I was such an extroverted social person. I was like, I'm going to be sitting all day long in my pajamas by myself. And I realized that it was actually, yes, there's an education system because they give us the tools meanwhile, but the whole community for me was the biggest surprise because I had no idea I was going to be learning from experts, but also learning from the other people in the community because they're only one step ahead of me. And then me helping people who are one step behind me. So this collaboration feeling, I think, is very unique to SFM. And I'm so happy I took the plunge because I had no idea about that fantastic surprise.
No,
Were there,
definitely.
besides the collaborative community that helps you and helps me, were there any other surprises that you've had going from being a person that was hesitant to do the application to an applicant and then a member of the SFM community? What were there any other surprises that like kind of blew you off?
Yeah, I guess the main surprise, I suppose, in terms of, I don't know if surprise is the right word. The thing that kind of made me go, huh, was realizing that I was really on a journey from an employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset. And that is a journey because I've never owned a business before. And so that in itself brings up challenges. And part of this this journey, you realize is so much has to do with mindset and beliefs about yourself and your willingness to step up as a leader, even if you haven't had the results yet. And all of this can be deeply, it's just challenging to become that version of yourself that deep down is inside of you, but it's scary sometimes. And that's why it's so important to have good people around you and a community of people to help you through that. But it is a journey. It's and I wasn't expecting that. I was very like you. I thought, oh yeah, I'll sign up, point A to point B, learn how to, it's like school, you work through the modules, so then you get your thing and now you have an online business. That's what I thought. It's going to be this linear journey. And I didn't anticipate the self-growth that was going to be required for this. And it's been the most rewarding part of the entire thing. And I feel like that's why I signed up in the first place, because I have a high value on leadership. I've just never had the courage to demonstrate it. I was someone who always believed I had to have the results first before I could lead, which is silly, because how can you, it's just like you need to lead first before you can have the results. But, I wasn't thinking that way, and I didn't have people around me to support me to think that way. So for me, the biggest happy surprise, is the amount I've grown as a leader. That journey, like taking that journey and being okay with it being a journey and it taking time, that's 20 years of employee mindset I've conditioned, and it's okay for it to not be easy. It's okay for it to take a bit of time to adjust, to this new way of thinking of, in terms of entrepreneurship. But that is the journey. And what's great about that is I can help people go through that as well. And that's the other great surprise, is that as you do become a leader and you do stick around here for a while and you start to get results, you begin to give back to others and help them and mentor them and teach them. And that's the part that I find really exciting and fulfilling. But we have to go through this. We have to go through it ourselves in order to be able to support others go through it. So it's so much more than just learn how to place a Facebook ad. I mean, it's so much more than that. Yeah.
Great, Karena. Well, thank you so much for your input. And I always learn so much from you when we have these kind of chats. And of course, the ones we've had right before this conversation, the ones after. So thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
Thank you for sharing with my audience as well.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye. Karena, that was awesome.